And we are live. So, welcome to episode 220 of An American Werewolf in New Jersey. I am the American Werewolf. In the house tonight, we've got Eric from Hey Internet Eric here.
Yes, sir.
Eric, what kind of weather you getting these days there? Is spring springing over there in Illinois?
I think Mother Nature is very bipolar because we had a good couple weeks of 50-degree weather, and then we had good 3 or 4 days of nearly 7-degree weather, and now I'm sitting here and it's a frigid old 36.
Damn shame. It's a damn shame.
Fucking hell.
We've had some 70-degree weather. Now we're in the upper 40s, early 50s. So we're getting there. But the buds are budding, and the bees are being, and the bears are bearing. So I think we're going to be all right. Over there across the pond, we've got the queen of live streaming herself. We've got Morgan Scorpion out there interviewing.
Good for you.
That's it. Kicking ass and taking names, asking questions, pressing the flesh. Congratulations on this new series, in complete seriousness, in this new direction for your channel.
Absolutely.
I was watching it on my TV the other day. I turned on the TV and I turned on YouTube because I have the app plugged in through my channel, and so all my subscriptions, that are on there. And there you were interviewing someone that you said was the first horror podcast.
That's Jim Moon of the Hypnagogia fame. I was thrilled to bits that he said yes, because he's one of the first people on the internet that I actually noticed, quite some time ago. And he has this most wonderful, rich voice with such fabulous resonance.
Speaking of celebrity obsession.
Stories.
Well, and in case you were wondering, we were talking about you about that. So before you got
yes.
Yeah, we're very happy for you.
It might have a nice surprise for next week. We'll have to wait and see.
There you go.
All right.
And,
all right.
Fingers crossed for Robin Lloyd Taylor, right?
Yeah.
I haven't asked him. In fact, I don't think I can get in contact with him since I've been kicked off of Facebook. I would love to have him, but I think he might be a bit too big for me now.
Well, we'll see if we can stalk him for you. We'll put it in.
Well, Julia's happy to do all the stalking herself. Please try to take my word for it. Julia, what the hell did you do to get kicked?
I've already got a lovely array of people who are interested in being interviewed, including the American Werewolf himself.
That's it. I would be happy to get out there and
we'll make that the 100th live episode.
I don't mention any names until I've locked them in, but I was really delightfully surprised at how many people were willing to be interviewed.
Yep.
People
They'll
like
all
you
be connected to horror in some way or another.
People like you, Julia. It's a good quality to have.
And they have a big ego. They like being interviewed.
Yes, that's true also. I actually volunteered. Hey, why don't you interview me? Pick me. Hey, I'm over here. Pick me. All right, and rounding out the four of us, we've got John K. Alvarez, who's going for 29 cents a pound. John Alvarez sell sticks. I tell you what, let's not even fuck around. We're talking about Brandon Cronenberg's Antiviral. Are you guys ready to go?
Yeah.
Let's go.
Boogie woogie. So before I get into it real quick, I just want to say this is now on my backup channel, The American Werewolf. Like the video, leave a comment. Subscribe to the channel, though. I'm trying to get some new subs and build up this. This is where all my horror is going to be from now on. And the old channel will be for more relevant content, maybe even MMA and pro wrestling kind of stuff, branching out. So let's go right at it. Ladies first. Julia, what did you think of Brandon Cronenberg's Antiviral? 2012, 12 years old now, Antiviral. I think I'm just going to feed you a little bit, maybe a little bit ahead of its time. Go ahead.
It's a lot ahead of its time. It's very interesting that there's quite a bit of a mention of a virus that was created in China, which
Yes.
is affecting I can't really call her our heroine, this very passive, doll-like central figure who is often asleep or unconscious. Um, and Hannah Geist, whose last name means spirit or ghost. I know it's pretty obvious to most people, but I have to mention the bleeding obvious sometimes. Um,
It's
is
us. We
that
need all the help we can get.
Well, yeah,
We
it's the
appreciate you.
celebrity obsession thing, which of course I'm guilty of myself to a certain extent, and it's quite reassuring because I can watch Antiviral, which is basically about celebrity obsession, and think, oh my God, I'm actually quite sane because I don't want to get any of the diseases that famous people get, and I don't particularly want to eat their cloned flesh. I certainly don't want a skin graft of them
Yeah.
because well, gross, but apparently some people are into that sort of thing. And but I was also suddenly realizing that I ought to have read David Cronenberg's Consumed, because I have a copy of his book Consumed and I still haven't read it, because this is also about celebrity consumption in more ways than one. And anyway, I'm sure we'll all go into the various themes that are raised by this in greater detail later on. And this isn't the Julia Morgan show, but
Not yet.
Not yet.
Yeah,
the
yeah.
way it
Hey.
looks, this is a amazing film to look at. Loads of huge, great white spaces with various people and things juxtaposed, sort of outlined in all this white. I wonder if it's meant to symbolize the blankness that is in the hero's soul, or the blankness that is in society, which we're trying to fill with all these famous, glamorous people who we who people are describing as wonderful human beings when we've never actually met them and haven't a bloody clue what they're really like, which I'm sure in some cases will be a nasty surprise. And then some people actually are every bit as nice as they seem, which is reassuring. Um, so I loved the style of it. Some of the special effects don't hold up if you look too closely, and you can see the join or the artificiality of it, which is considering it's all artificial. It's a movie, but some things look artificial and some things are convincingly real. And so we have a very blank male protagonist who turns out to be a scheming sicko, and a very blank female protagonist who's always objectified. And so there's nothing really to get your heart into, but to engage the brain and to engage the eye. This is a fabulous movie, and I was thrilled to bits to see it, to see that Brandon Cronenberg could carry on the torch and might even surpass his father. We'll have to wait and see. And anyway, I'm going to shut up on that for now and let other people have a go, because I want to hear what you have to say.
Thanks, Julia. We appreciate that. Now, Julia took over my spot with the 8-minute fucking monologue, and so we're going right at it here. All right, no, just kidding. Eric, what do you got for us? Yeah. Next thing you know, she's going to be kicking me out of the stream. That's.
Don't give her that power. Kind of like we said last week with
Julia, bring him back.
I'm just kidding.
I knew it. Kind of like last week with Possessor. You definitely have to be in the right mind frame for. I'm figuring that out for Brandon's films, and I personally don't know if I was in the right mind frame for this one. like Julie said, it is very nice to look at. There's a lot of prettiness in it. I love the white, and I like how it mixes with the red of the blood. I do like how it's kind of relevant with celebrity obsession. But man, I, I'm definitely going to have to rely a lot on the conversation for tonight because I was dipping in and out with this one. It is very gruesome to watch at times, but it's still churning inside my head right now, like because I just finished it like maybe 10 minutes ago, 10, 15 minutes ago before we got together. So it's still kind of processing what I watched.
Gotcha. All right, John, what do you got for us? Just
it's weird. It's weird because I don't want to take a counterpoint to it, but what Eric was talking about, like dipping in and out, I was doing that last week with Possessor. Like I was saying, I remember you said that. Yeah. I was in the wrong frame of mind. I think when I went into it, though I enjoyed it. I enjoyed this movie a lot. Like I took the whiteness of that was around because there were a lot of white and grays in this movie as the bland nature of the society they were in, the culture they were in, that they were relying on being inspired by these celebrities and taking it to the extreme. But it was funny because if they turn around and write a report or have something on the news today saying, hey, this has been going on for a while now, I wouldn't be surprised because of the celebrity focus we seem to or the focus we seem to have and give to celebrities type deal. I think, and it's the wonderful thing I kind of like about Brandon Cronenberg's work is that even though it's horror and science fiction, it's also satire. With this movie and Possessor a bit, but especially with it, there's a satire nature to it. Yeah. Most of the people in this movie, to me, even our protagonist, were pricks. Yeah. They really were. And it was funny because the female character, as Julia put it, was basically laid back. And when you got to meet her, even with very little dialogue, showed compassion to the protagonist. Are you, when she was saying, did you begin spitting up blood? This is what's coming. When she was talking about the illness, not to jump too far ahead of it. The one that everybody's objectifying actually is the one that actually cares, even though they're sick. I kind of liked that. It wasn't strong. It wasn't heavy, but it was just subtle enough that I went, huh. The Venus de Milo is actually reaching out her arms, even though she doesn't, they're lopped off, is how I was thinking of it. This was fascinating to me.
It's an interesting film. I mean, because this was dropped in 2012, and it was a bit before social media really exploded. And the TMZ era, probably around 2015, 2016, these sorts of things. Facebook is out, but we haven't had Instagram yet. I don't think, or maybe it was just about to launch. Right. Twitter isn't exactly it isn't close to what it is now. These sorts of things. And celebrity obsession is this weird thing where it's, for this obsession, I mean also celebrity hate. Because I really do believe that celebrity hate is just a pose. But, it's weird because you see, I talk about the mega channels, like Nerdrotic hit 1 million subs just recently. Hating on Hollywood and people he's never going to meet these people.
Right.
But it's just 3 live streams, 2 hours, 3 hours, 5 hour streams, 3 times a week. Hammering, this and that, and just this constant, endless, narrow but extraordinarily deep focus, for these one-way relationships.
Right.
They're one-way relationships. You could go to Instagram and look at somebody like Kylie Jenner, or The Rock, 400 million subs. You're never going to, for people that are probably never going to meet these these two, whether
or
it's
even interact with them online.
Yeah, interact with. They don't even probably handle. They rarely, probably handle their own, social media accounts. They have other people to do that. Especially probably the Kardashians or whatever. You really think you're going to DM Kylie Jenner? Good luck. That kind of thing. I've
what are you
actually
talking about? We're meeting for dinner Friday.
Yeah, I with one exception. But it's like I remember early on when I was starting to do interviews, I started to interview who I would consider lower level celebrities, and I could see that these things never even got read. And it's like if and maybe someone has ever the social media account is set up in such a way that if you're not friends with this person or not following them, then it sort of comes through as a message request. And you can choose to read it or not read it. And most of the things just sort of sit there. But these accounts, they just keep growing and growing and growing. So, I mean, this movie was very much ahead of its time, even though it takes it to a much further extreme. 2012, we aren't where we are in 2024. But, yeah, I mean, like John said, if you were to tell me that, there'd be some big, expose that this was happening and that celebrities were selling their diseases to a pharmaceutical company so that, these sycophants could inject, like The Rock has athlete's foot, oh my God, I'm obsessed with The Rock, I got to get that athlete's
Where is he walking?
Yeah, these sorts of things, and
Mark Wahlberg and his dandruff, stuff like that.
Yeah, or somebody's got eczema. Rosario Dawson has eczema, or something like that, and I'm going to start injecting these diseases, and we're all guilty of it to some extent because we follow these celebrities and we discuss these actors. And, Eric and I, and Jay, we discuss these professional wrestlers. Julia, you have your, people that you follow, this, that, and the other. We all participate, to some extent. This movie, however, will make me want to go live like in the Unabomber shed, or something like that, and, I'll have some water and a mattress, and a couple of, firearms, and, I got my dog and I'm good. It really does make you just want to like run as far the fuck away from, people as possible because there is no one in the movie that isn't a participant.
Yeah. Right. It's like, me and you, Mike, we'll trade, texts or something like that about, Rhea Ripley and how much we love her, but we ain't doing this shit. You know what I mean?
I mean, this is inconceivable. This is inconceivable. And basically it's the story of this guy who works for a pharmaceutical company that purchases diseases from celebrities extracted from their blood that they voluntarily sell to the company to be replicated, copyrighted in such a way that the diseases do not become communicable. They can't be passed on, and are then injected into paying customers. And the casting on this, what I like about this movie is that, with the exception of Malcolm McDowell,
right?
And Malcolm McDowell fits perfectly in this. This is a perfect Malcolm McDowell role, I thought. Playing some weird fucking doctor, with his skin grafts and, and all this kind of shit. But
he looks classy, but he's creepy as fuck. That's Malcolm
yes,
McDowell.
He is.
Yes, he is.
But the first scene in the movie basically is a man, the guy Sid, who's played by Caleb Landry Jones, who's been in like he's been in a couple of things. I can't remember them all.
X-Men First Class is the only thing.
He was Banshee. He was Banshee in that, and a couple of other things. He's selling a celebrity. He's selling this guy right here herpes. Like somebody is voluntarily injecting herpes and I love the interaction because the guy can barely look at the salesman. He's so busy stuck on the monitor looking at Hannah Geist. the celebrity Hannah Geist, and like he literally wants this sexually transmitted disease that he will. This isn't like injecting a flu, or like I said, athlete's foot, or even like gonorrhea. This is a permanent disease. It's like hepatitis C or something like that, and he just. It's this erotic sort of fascination, that these people have, and it's sick and it's disturbing, and it just feels 100% realistic in today's society.
He sets up the con in this scene. It's beautiful to me. It's beautifully done, even though it's horrific. I mean, he doesn't say you seem to be this type of guy. He goes, it's like you're a connoisseur. He's feeding into the person so that gets them excited, so they even buy the more expensive one. He's not just trying to sell anything common and make the sale. He's whining and dining them without food and drink.
He's not buying them anything. He's not taking them out to a dinner. He's not,
and he's infected, going to infect them.
He came off to me with them. He came off to me kind of like that used car salesman that'll butter you up. And you're here. You want this model? Oh, but look, this one just came in, and it's got this on it, and this on it. This would be perfect for you. So he's telling him everything he kind of wants to hear to get that sale.
I wrote this in my notes. You know what this reminded me of? It had flashes of Total Recall, where the guy's selling the recall sales. What's different about what's the same about every vacation you've ever been on? Wherever you go, it's the same old you. Why not be a secret agent, or a supermodel, or
you kill the bad guy, get the girl,
And it also reminded me, and Eric, I think you were talking about this last week a bit. The whole Glenn Ross making that sale, meeting that customer. He reminded me with even though it was red hair and a little long, it was the Al Pacino character in that the perfect salesman, bringing him in, just. And nicely doing it, making it feel like it's his idea.
Exactly.
It's amazing.
Yeah. It's definitely a seller's market. But you're buttering these guys up, and in this creepy way, you're turning them on, or it's a girl. She's they were selling that girl something. I can't remember what it was. A flu in time for the long weekend.
Yeah,
and it's just so sick.
That's
and disturbing.
That's the one thing about this. It look a lot of times we already said it looks so pretty with the whites and the gray, but it's so disgusting. Knowing the fact that he's trying to butter up this kid to buy what you said, it was herpes or something like that. They're buying diseases, STDs, whatever, and they're doing whatever they can to make that sale. It's cringy.
We'll put it on your left side because that's where she kisses.
Yes.
Oh, brilliant,
man.
And I did. I got to see, but the writer of me's going, that's brilliant.
That's smart,
But that's brilliant.
This is Brandon Cronenberg got this off of some sort of short film that he made called Broken Tulip, which was a scene from this movie. He didn't say exactly which one, but he said, I was thinking about making it into a feature film. And somebody said, well, if you do that, I'll produce it for you.
Right.
And he did. He just wrote this shit out, and like you see him and he's like, I'm a really reclusive guy. So, this was, a first effort. It's an amazing and original concept. Just like Possessor. Phenomenal. Just phenomenal. And the casting of this sort of skinny, sort of extraordinarily, like in the color palette, he might as well just be, with the exception of the hair, he might as well just be part of the wall.
He was his blend of the world that he was in.
But the interesting thing is that this guy, and Julia, did we skip over it? Or do you want to jump in?
We ran over her again.
No, that's fine.
Okay, but the interesting thing for me was not that this guy was just some sort of hustler. He was consuming his own product.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was
Right.
he was like the drug dealer that's getting high off his own
Stuff.
drugs.
Supply.
Right, and
Yeah.
it starts out where you're thinking that, because what he's doing is wherever he gets an opportunity, because every day they pass through a stringent security check to make sure that they physically don't have any
Right.
of the product on them as they exit the building.
Right.
What he's doing every spare minute is injecting any spare amounts of the disease into whatever disease it is into himself, and then extracting his own blood once he gets home to sell on the black market where they can break the copyright. It's he's pirating the diseases. So he's always sick. He's always sick because he's always
Right.
inserting some sort of illness into himself. So he's always, taking his temperature. He's always, like he's eating cheese sandwiches and aren't like these plastic.
It's just like gas station sandwiches and orange juice.
Orange juice and some
vitamins.
vitamins or something like that.
Yeah.
Because he's always, he's always anemic too, with getting rid of all of his blood.
Yeah. Yeah. It's very, they're great visuals, but they're rough visuals. It's very raw.
That's the question. If he's making that much money, why is he living in a fairly rundown looking place?
It's a great question, and I don't know if I see. It wouldn't surprise me to know that he was making next to nothing, and that like everybody else that works here, he's hooked on his own product, either by association, like everybody else that works there, because it's all they ever talk about.
Yeah.
Nobody's talking about football. Nobody's talking about the wife or the kids want to go away this week. All they ever talk about when they're together is some minuscule fact about some celebrity and some urban legend about whatever. And so they could be getting paid nothing, but the reward is the experience itself.
Right.
It could also be why he's selling his own blood, which if you're poor, that's one of the things that you always hear stories of. People go and sell their own blood to get some money to buy food. And like he's the company man, he's going against the company rules type deal. And I love that duality of him, because he really is the company guy, but he doesn't mind breaking the rules to make an extra buck for himself, just like pretty much everybody else does.
But what you realize is that as the movie progresses, is that he's not just doing it to make a buck, or maybe it started out that way, but he is as hooked and plugged into the obsession.
It's addiction.
Even more so than everybody else.
He's trapped in the cycle.
If not as much, then more so than the people he's selling to.
Yeah.
And it's very disturbing to watch. He's perpetually, and I love the makeup job that they do with him. Where, as the movie, because he starts out, he's sick.
Yeah.
Right.
And he's already pale to begin with, and then the redness around the eyes, and then he's got this eczema patch or whatever that is that's going on, and then they start putting the redness inside the liner of his eye, and you're just like, oh man, this guy is he's dying like right in front of us, slowly but surely.
I was just cringing all the time, like when he was taking a test and he stuck the cotton swab up his nose.
Yeah.
With the close-ups, the Cronenbergs are known to making you cringe, and Brandon's definitely following Dad's footsteps with that stuff.
Yeah, and guess what? Just a couple of years ago, we were all sticking fucking cotton swabs up our noses.
That's true.
To guess what? For like Julia said, a virus that came out of China. Everybody was. I remember my dad had to go in for a small procedure, and we couldn't even go to the doctor. You had to get in line in your car.
Right.
They were doing COVID tests in line outside of a clinic, and there was just like this big old looping line of like 20 cars in front of us, and he had to have a COVID test before he went in for the procedure. And there it was. I only recently had a COVID test. Was it last year? Or I think it was sometime. I caught it like last year for the first time or something like that in 23.
I,
But there we all were getting a big cotton swab shoved up our nose. But Cronenberg was doing it in 2012.
I was doing it. I had to go in for a test, and they literally took my temperature and escorted me into a room and said, "Oh, by the way, you have COVID." And I was like, "What?" No, I just got the shot because I did. I got the first shot like a week or two prior, and they shoved it up my nose, and they went, "I do this at home," and they said, No, you're not doing it far enough," and they really jabbed it in, and I grabbed it, and they go, "Are you all right?" And the nurse goes, "Oh, what did I do? Poke your brain?" And I went, "Yeah, now I can't do math." And the nurse looked at me, but the other nurse started laughing. And I'm like, "Yeah, thanks a lot, lady." But it's when I saw that scene, that's exactly where it took me to. I mean, that sense memory, I think people who saw this movie back in 2012 after COVID should watch it again. I think they would change their mind on that, on some of the stuff they were talking about.
It's it's a hell. I mean, I don't know if I told you guys. I got rid of just this past week, or was it last week? I got rid of Facebook and IG, and like watching this today, I'm like, yeah, I'm not going back on that anymore. Mm-hmm. Like I want X, which is basically about talking about horror, this, that, and the other. But I'm just like, yeah, maybe I can get rid of that too at some point. And not be bothered with any of this kind of stuff.
You make too many friends on X, Mike.
Yes, I do. I'm half black, in case you don't know that. So
What?
Yeah, I'm running. It's a long story. I'm running for the Coon Award. Apparently, I'm going to find out if I can win that fucking award. I'm going to rob it from Jesse Lee Peterson this year. He's getting old. We need somebody else to take the fucking role. I want that fucking award. It's a prestige. It's a very prestigious award. Not just anybody can win it. So I'm going for it this year. But I mean, it even goes even further when we start to get into the butcher shop.
Gee, fucking Christ, man.
And we start to see that they are making these steaks or sausage or would look like, they're in the shape. You see the far right, it's in the shape of like a salami, when you that sort of prepared Italian meat. I don't know how they make salami.
Like a baked ham or something like that.
Yeah, and they're making these things from the cells of celebrities.
Ugh.
And like people are lined
do the celebrities
up.
get a cut?
Huh?
Yeah, because they make some money from it.
Oh yeah. I mean, the celebrities are, they're selling themselves in this way. I'm sure for an enormous profit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because you couldn't do this publicly in some public butcher shop, like that. I mean, in the same way that they're selling their blood to, what is it,
right.
the Lucas Clinic.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And I love this line. Celebrities are not people. They're group hallucinations.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's just a brilliant. Yeah, that's just a brilliant piece, especially when you think about what we were talking about in terms of these one-way relationships.
Right.
It's like some mass neurosis, that's going on and infecting. Maybe in the days, the Beatles, you think about that, and Elvis Presley, and Michael Jackson, and to this day, I was watching this military podcast the other day, and I said even in Afghanistan, they were all sad when Michael Jackson died, like the fucking Afghans, what, like, oh, very sad, and like they said, you see the kids moonwalking through the fucking village. You're like, what the fuck is this? Don't you have other things you should be working on right now? But it's just
it's the sense of possessing them type deal.
Is the virus? Here's a question for each of you: is the virus celebrity itself?
You can't catch celebrity.
I disagree.
You don't.
We can catch.
Well,
I think.
of course you can if you date a celebrity, but you can't catch it by injecting some of their disease.
I don't know. I don't know about that. All right, go ahead.
I'm sorry.
So
In fact,
Julia
strictly
says no.
speaking, you're no closer to them by so doing.
Julia says no. Okay, John, what do you got?
I think it's not a celebrity, but more of a fad, because they keep bringing up different diseases from these celebrities.
No. That's not the question. That's not the question.
Oh,
I'm
sorry.
saying just generally, is celebrity itself, not a celebrity, but celebrity itself, is that the virus? Assuming that you're not injecting these things into people, this, that, and the other. But I mean, we look at the trends, there's always been a fascination with celebrity. Before, it used to be rich people, like in the days of the Titanic, John Rockefeller, those were the people that they wrote about, these sorts of things.
It was even movie stars and movie magazines then, though.
Yeah, but it was
but as the meat, as much as the medium could allow,
but it was
the
even
medium of the time.
When Ben Franklin went to France during the Revolutionary War, he was a celebrity because this is the guy who, captured lightning and ran with a kite and with the key. This is some of the things that they were actually talking about. I don't know if celebrity is the virus, but I know we can easily get sick from it. So I would say, yeah, it depends on the level of sickness we get.
Right. Yeah. Because we've all got it a little bit. Mm-hmm. We've all got it a little. Julia, what's the name of that guy you're obsessed with from 30 Coin?
Cosimo Fusco.
I can't even pronounce it. It sounds like a pasta, but Julia knows who he is.
It's Italian.
I always want to say fusilli. I'm like, no, that's a pasta. I can't remember. Eric, what do you got?
That's tough, man. Virus, I don't know. Obsession, absolutely. I look at it as a way of being a part of them. I can see, like, having a part of them inside you might make people think that they're in a relationship with this, and that shows.
No. I'm not talking about in terms of the film. I mean, generally, just like the world we live in, is celebrity itself the virus?
It could definitely make you sick. You could definitely make you sick. I know that for sure.
Right. Can I add something to that, Mike?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, you've been.
No. I didn't know if you were going on. It depends also, like, using another virus as an example, let's say the flu. Depending on the person, too, depends on how bad the flu affects them. I'm willing to state that celebrity is a virus, but I also think it's the person themselves, how they handle this particular type of virus. I mean, come on. A couple of years ago, what was it? For Michael Jordan, it was like, be like Mike.
Mm-hmm.
They came right out and had people wear these shoes. You'll be like Mike. Drink this drink. You'll be like Mike.
They still sell to this day. Jordans still sell to the kids to this day. Gotta have their Jordans.
They just made a movie about it last year. How it got sold.
Yeah, with Matt Damon, wasn't it? Yeah, with Matt Damon. Yeah,
but that's the point about it is I think it's also has to take in the person themselves when they face this virus.
I think there has to be a hole for that celebrity. Nature abhors a vacuum. So I think within the person itself, there has to be a hole of some sort for that sort of obsession to take root. If you have a grounded, life and you have, things going on and, these, because everybody knows a couple of people that just have no idea what's going on in the world. Like they go home, they go to work, spend time with their family. They're not on social media. Everybody knows some people like that. And they're just like, who? Who's that? Who are we talking about? This, that, or the other. My next door neighbor's like that. And I can't remember, somehow he said Ray Stevens. Oh, that movie with Ray Stevens. I'm like, who the fuck is Ray Stevens? And he meant Ray Stevenson. Which isn't a mistake that any of us would make. But he's so disconnected from everything. And so, there are people like that out there. So, we know these things. Are we? injecting, and eating fucking, steaks. No. But
There could be people out there that would, though.
I absolutely
definitely
in this day and age,
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. In fact, this could be something coming down the road, in another 10 or 15 years. Would it surprise you if this went mainstream?
No.
The next generation of Kardashian or whatever, and I'm not a Kardashian hater, one way or the other. But their kids or something are selling, or Beyonce's daughter or something like that, or
this is my pinky toe.
I've got a hang now. I've got, whatever. Yeah. It wouldn't surprise me in the least.
I mean, if you look at and I'm going really weak on this, so my apologies, but I know people who have gone to the Carnegie Deli in New York City where they have sandwiches and meals named after a celebrity because they want to have their favorite celebrity, whatever the meal's named after, if it's there. And I looked at them one time. I said, "Don't get me wrong, I love corned beef on rye with a little Swiss, but no, I'm not buying it because of the celebrity. I like corned beef.
Yeah.
It's but I know some people who would do that or have a drink. The James. I mean, there was a bar I knew in KMA for quite some time. They were calling it the James Bond Martini.
Oh yeah,
vodka martini, shaken but not stirred. And it was funny because people got mad at me, and I said, "Well, you realize it's a weak drink. They're saving money because the chipped ice weakens the vodka and everything else. And of course, he's a spy." And I started throwing this stuff at him. He's a spy. He can't get drunk. That's why he has to have that because it's a weaker drink. And they're like, "Shut up, man! It's Bond."
Yeah.
I mean, I do, and I nod my head. And I go, "Okay." But it's not. We're on that verge.
I just lost my train of thought, but I mean, I can totally see this coming down the road. Can totally see it coming down. Oh, that's what I was going to say real quick. We were talking about Bond for a second. I love that idea that I put up in the group chat today. Somebody said you should have Timothy Dalton for the new Bond come back as M.
Yeah.
And never tell you if he's actually just old, because there's always that rumor that James Bond is just like a pseudonym,
just the number,
that there's always another 007 coming in or another James Bond. It has been different people all this time, and it would be great to have Dalton come in as M and him never tell you if he was actually Bond or not. He's just M. That would be fucking great. That would be fucking great.
And Bond would go, "You know what this is like."
Yeah. It's just these little references here and there, but never clue into it. It'd be fucking awesome. All right, so that brings us to Hannah Geist, who is sort of the objectified, perfect, I don't. I mean, I don't know what to think of this character. Because to me, they're really, if you're selling your diseases to a pharmaceutical company, you're not a good person.
Right.
To be mass broadcast, to be, sent out into your fan base. Like, this is almost, folk horror where these weird things are just accepted, that sort of thing. But I mean, she dies, and after Sid injects, he gets the opportunity to go to take a sample of her blood and immediately inject some of it into her. And then she dies because her blood has been poisoned.
Right.
In some form or another, which sends the whole story down even further down into this rabbit hole, where it ceases to become about celebrity and it sort of becomes just this survival tale. And it gets even more gross, if you can believe that, with kidnappings of Caleb, of Sid and, his friend from the butcher shop. Well, he was always a scumbag, but he just, like that scene where they kidnap him and just sort of hold him down and take his blood and then
Mhm.
take some of the rash and you're just like, these are some of the worst people that I've ever seen written into a movie without any sort of like it surpasses like the Firefly family.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like
These are
like,
just
wasn't there a scene where Sid and the butcher got into some type of argument or something as Sid was leaving? The guy tried to cheer him up, but here, I'll offer you a piece of this celebrity, like for a steak or something like
yeah,
that.
he
Yeah.
gave her
Try
a
to make
hand
him
of guy steak and he took it.
Yeah.
Right. I remember before Sid and the butcher guy went to meet the friend who could possibly fix the machine, they went to a restaurant and the butcher guy was talking to him and he goes, "You sold me bad meat."
Yeah.
Look at it. I can't, I'm telling everybody it's this woman and it's, Pablo, whatever his name was. And then later on, when he was with the butcher guy and Sid had the blood and they said, "Yeah, if you give me the blood, I'll fix your machine." And the butcher guy said, "Oh, come on, don't be stingy." And just the way he said it, I'm like, you're surrounded by a pack of wolves, dude. They brought you right in. And it was like,
Yeah.
God damn.
Yeah,
It was like it went from celebrity to commodity.
Yeah, I don't know if he actually believes that these people are his friends or he's just so addled from injecting diseases into himself. It never occurs to him that like none of these people are trustworthy. He's
Right.
not trustworthy. It's like a group full of
playing
junkies.
them.
Huh?
He's playing them.
Well, he thinks he is.
He's playing them. I think he's playing them. Look how he ends up.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I think I agree with Julia. I think he was playing them until he had something everybody wanted.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he was playing the well. I don't know if he was playing them. I think he was just pirating and my interpretation of this was that he was pirating and selling these things and turning a buck until he injected himself with something that was, that sort of turned him into the mark. They're kind of all like a group of junkies. You know that saying you can't trust a junkie,
Right.
But they're all junkies in one way or another.
Right.
And so the minute he has something that he won't share, they're going to take it from him. And it's just, who are you not to share?
Yeah.
You don't get to keep what's yours. Everything belongs to, whoever
Only
can
his,
get
though,
it.
because he stole it in the first place.
Yeah.
But not to
He
them,
stole
it's
it in
not.
the first place.
Yeah, they don't care.
So really,
They want it. They want it, and he has it. It doesn't matter where he got it.
Yeah, and so if he can't,
No, I'm just
he
talking
doesn't
about the
deserve to do it.
morality of it. If you stole something and somebody steals it from you, you don't get to complain about bloody thieves because you're all the same.
Yeah.
They're just as
It's
bad
like
as he is, and
no
he's
honor
just as
among
bad as
thieves.
they are. Yeah.
I don't know about that.
I mean, it's like when they were taking the blood from him, and I go, okay, they got 3 vials, and they just kept going.
Yeah,
and
I think they
started
took like
counting it
5.
in my head, and I'm going, holy shit, they're not stopping.
Yeah.
If they could have drained him, they would have.
Well, why kill the goose that lays the golden eggs?
That's true.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean, but they were like wolves. They were or vampires. We want to go.
Yeah,
Keep it
I
in
think
the heart.
vampire is by far the best description.
Yeah, it's I think there are levels to this. And these guys are operating at a lower level.
Yeah,
it's like the levels of hell. These people are operating like Levine. Like Levine, what was that line? I don't think dignity is a valid currency anymore.
Right.
It's not in their vocabulary. These sorts of human qualities, it's gone. To be a part of this lifestyle. That they live, dignity and any of these sorts of things are not. They're not part of it. They're not part of it. It's just.
Let's get back to if we can, the question of Hannah Geist is that there is a virtual reality Hannah Geist that we
Mhm.
Yes.
meet. The
Mhm.
woman in the box is
Yeah.
incredibly sinister. That she's obviously there as a fantasy object,
Right.
Yeah.
to put like a sort of a puppet to enact a
Mhm.
fantasy. She's not a fantasy girlfriend. They're not going on a date
No.
or
No.
going to a fun fair or going
Yeah.
to a ball game.
No, it's not the
This
girlfriend
is
experience. No.
No.
It's not a girlfriend experience. It's a hostage experience.
Yes.
I'll do whatever you want.
Um,
Do you want me to hurt myself?
yes,
Yeah.
yeah, and
Mm.
I have to say I haven't actually seen that much of it in the various fandoms. I'm a lot less involved in online fandoms than I used to be, believe it or not.
Mm. Give it.
Um, you do find some very sinister undercurrents
Mhm.
in some fandoms and not in others, which I think might
Mhm.
be down to what the moderators are allowing or encouraging. Um,
That
for
follows.
the most part, you have a lot of innocent fantasies about being the heroine who saves the day and the hero rewards you with his
Mhm.
undying love sort of thing. And you do occasionally come across some really unpleasant,
Mhm.
sadistic fantasies of control and domination
Mhm.
and degradation, which is like, and again, some fandoms are worse for it
Yeah.
than others.
Hmm.
And
Mm.
so anyway, I've stopped hanging around those places online.
That's good, Julia. That's
But
good,
Yeah.
Julia.
this
Stick with
disturbing
us boring people, all right? Yeah,
undertone
stick with us.
No,
there.
I understand what she was talking about because, like,
Yeah.
I helped a friend do a research on stuff like
Mm,
this, and I lasted
mm,
about a week and a half, and I said, "Dude, I can't do
mm.
this for you anymore,"
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
it was kind of he was
Yeah.
sending me because he didn't want to go, and he
Hmm.
said, "You're
Mm,
better at research for this," and after a while, I'm
yeah.
like, "You go." You put, and he's
Mm,
like, no, no, and I'm like, no, I'm done because
yeah.
I got ill from it,
Hmm.
Oh,
type
yeah.
deal. And
Yeah.
believe me,
Yeah. There's a couple of fandoms from which I fled screaming.
yeah, I was
You
like,
know.
no, no, wrong. I'm out later.
Mm.
This is,
For one particular actor, the fandom was 99% about hating on whichever girlfriend he had at the moment.
oh,
And
Jesus.
it's like,
Jeez.
good God,
Jesus. No,
these.
wrong.
Ugh,
There are, yeah, I
yeah.
mean, as Eric always says, fan is short for fanatic.
Yep.
Right.
Mm,
And so there's always going to be a slight, oh, I mean, the entirety of the premise of this film is about the extremes of unhealthy
yeah.
fandom,
Mhm.
Hmm.
the absolute
Mm,
extremes. Um, but I
You
mean,
got the
those
one second.
extremes exist in real life.
Yeah, they do.
And so you're going to have people that have some, sick scenarios,
yeah.
playing in their mind, about how these things should, play out in their particular world.
Hmm.
And so if you look at it through the filter of their mind and then you see those sorts of things, and I have, no experience with that sort of thing at all, but it's just basic. It just seems like basic common sense. Yeah, there's some pretty sick people out there.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, you're going, I imagine if you dig deep enough, you'll probably not very deep, actually, you'll probably find it. It reminds me a little bit of that movie 8mm,
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
with Nick Cage, where he's called in to investigate the snuff film,
Snuff film. Yeah,
and
Mm-hmm.
he gets into he's just a private detective,
that's a
with
rough one.
Joaquin Phoenix and James Gandolfini, and he gets called in to investigate a snuff film, and he starts to pull the layers of the onion
Yep.
back into a very seedy,
Mm-hmm.
and dark, sort of world that exists.
Yep.
It's right there
Peter
in plain
Peter
sight.
Stormare shows up at the end as one of
Yeah,
the
he's
the guys
the
behind it.
machine, right? Yeah, he's the
Mhm.
machine.
Did
Yeah.
you ever see the original one of that, Mike?
No.
I didn't know there was an original one.
There was a movie from the late 70s, early 80s.
Okay.
The Nicolas Cage part was played by George C. Scott.
Oh, really?
And it was called, I
Oh.
believe, 8mm, but they stuck more with the pornographic thing. But he was going in because a friend said my daughter was kidnapped.
Okay.
And he was a detective going in to find it. And he went lower and lower in the seedy underbelly. There's a lot of people, because I saw the Nick Cage one, and when I was watching it, I was going, this reminds me of the one with George C. Scott. It was an older George too, type deal. But but you're right. It takes you to where you're like, there can't be people like this. And then you realize, oh yeah, there are.
Yeah, there are.
There are. And it's disgusting.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really fucking foul. It's really fucking foul. And it isn't something that, we typically talk about here, but this film is largely about this.
Right.
Well, it's about the mainstreaming of that kind of lifestyle.
Right.
And
1979, it's called Hardcore with George C. Scott.
Okay.
And Peter Boyle.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much.
Let's get into Malcolm McDowell. And Malcolm McDowell just seemed like speaking of CD, Malcolm McDowell seems like a perfect fucking casting here because he's always doing something fucking weird.
Yeah.
In some weird fucking.
But he does it so well.
Yeah, I mean, once you start out with Clockwork Orange,
Jesus Christ.
where are you going to go from there? He's not going to be doing, too many Disney films or anything like that. But I remember I saw a little bit of a behind the scenes thing, and like Landry was like, he was so excited to be working with Malcolm McDowell. And like when Caleb Landry did this, I think he was 22.
Mm-hmm.
So he was that fresh-faced kid. He's like, when I saw A Clockwork Orange, it changed my whole life, about like what was possible and, this, that, or the other. And, I'm thinking you must have just seen it last fucking week.
Yeah.
And there you are, hanging out with McDowell. But I thought McDowell, in some sense, brought some stability to the movie. Because he seemed the only one that, at least in the beginning, didn't come off as batshit fucking crazy.
Right.
And then you find out he rolls up this.
He's batshit fucking crazy, yeah.
Yeah, and he's as batshit as fucking everybody else. He just happens to live a little better. And I suppose I should have guessed, because when they kidnap him for the second time and bring him to Malcolm McDowell, they've got all those dead insects just sitting on that bureau. You open the door and it shows this bureau for some reason that's right off to the left, and it's just loaded with dead fucking insects. So that should have told us something right there. But I've never been a Malcolm McDowell fan per se. I thought he was good as Loomis. I'm trying to think of, I didn't like him in was it Star Trek Generations? Was he the bad guy in that when Kirk dies? Yeah, I wasn't a fan of that. But I liked him in this.
But in the early days of his career with like the Clockwork Orange and If and Britannia Hospital, he was a really big star. Yeah, he was a really big star.
And I loved him in Time After Time.
Oh yeah, that's right. The one about Jack the Ripper.
Yeah. And
but that had David Warner in it, and I totally.
Yeah, and they were both perfectly cast in that movie. Malcolm McDowell in this part reminds me kind of like there's always like I'm only saying Shakespeare because that's the only thing that's coming to my mind right now. There's always a character in Shakespeare who is kind of off center, but willing to point to the main character and show him, by the way, you're just as crazy as I am. Or just as wrong, I tell you.
Oh, you're thinking of the Fool in Lear.
Yeah. He reminded me a bit of that because he's saying, yeah, I have this, I have that. But then he pointed to him and goes, but so do you. You're just, you're not above this type deal. He was the truth sayer, even though he was nuts, or a little just off. I liked that he does it very well. That sense of authority. Who can point
he's got gravitas. He's got gravitas.
That's the thing. I was just looking on my phone, just like his filmography, and he doesn't pick the best movies to be in. You know what I mean?
No, I don't know what happened with that. Yeah, somewhere he fell off.
Yeah, he's definitely one of those, hey, I'm an actor for hire now. I'll do anything type of thing. But the thing is,
any decent actor is an actor for hire, I think.
Right, but what I'm saying is, even in like bad movies like fucking Tank Girl, you know what I mean, and you know, and stuff like that, he is always that character that brings you in. You know what I mean? Because he's got, you know, a gravitas, or he's got that just that personality that even if the movie's garbage, he's usually 99.9% of the time a great actor in anything.
Even in this movie, he was mostly doing exposition.
Mm-hmm.
And we've criticized exposition, but the way he made it work, I'm going, he just has that ability to pull it off.
And like I said before, he's just so dignified at times. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's the accent. That's all it is.
Yeah.
It's the accent.
Look how even as Loomis, you know, and that you know, especially the first one. I even though I love him as like the asshole in the second one, but like even the first one, and we know Rob Zombie's style, you know, it's white trash, you know, fuck this, fuck that type of stuff. He was still so professional and just, you know, dignified in that super dark, I hate to say trashy movie. You know what I mean? He was able to pull it off in that type of film too.
Yeah, and that was really something when you consider that he had Donald Pleasance's shoes to fill.
Yeah.
You know, that's not an easy thing to do. And I thought,
and
Pleasance added a lot to that original film.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, it's that fucking guy from The Great Escape. Okay, Donald Pleasance. Okay, I'll watch this, you know, and if you weren't a horror fan, you might have, you know, our parents might have recognized, oh, it's Donald Pleasance. Okay, you know, I'll sit down and watch this with my kids.
My mother was.
Our parents. I was there.
I had my mother.
She sounded offended, Mike.
Parents.
I had my mother.
Oh, jeez. Sensitive Susie over here.
No, I was.
I had my mother.
I remember him from Beyond the Grave.
Mm-hmm.
Donald Pleasance in that, playing an old soldier whose daughter has supernatural powers. He's starring opposite his daughter Angela Pleasance in one of the sections on that. I remember him in Escape from New York.
Yep.
Oh, jeez.
That was that one with the not horror. It wasn't Horror Express. It was about a monster living in the London Underground. And I've totally forgotten the title.
Yeah.
It's a very gruesome film.
Don't forget Prince of Darkness as well. Carpenter.
Oh, he's great in Prince of Darkness. He's great in Prince of Darkness.
He was also in Citizen Kane. He was also in the Twilight Zone. You know, he was in
Citizen Kane?
Yes. Look it up. He plays one of the minor characters. Donald Pleasance was one of the original people. Young actor with Mercury Theater with Orson Welles. He was one of.
I love Orson Welles. I just love.
I mean, Agnes Moorehead is in Citizen Kane before she did Bewitched. These are people who came from the stage and went through this, and that's what brings the gravitas. Sorry,
I love. I love Orson Welles, man. We never talk. There's usually not much room for Welles here on this format, but I mean, like, I could watch The Third Man like 7 days a week.
Well, to bring it back to this movie, only because the one thing I thought about when I was watching this movie, it was a film noir movie without the fog.
Yeah.
And the shadows. They put it out in white type deal. The character, because a lot of the people in the film noir movie are not likable. And Sid, even though he was going through different things, actually what I felt like, it was like, God damn, this is a film noir movie without the shadows, the smoke, that coming out of, you know, they just laid it right out in front. But that's just my opinion. I could be wrong.
I'm sorry.
No, I was thinking about it. If you think of the film noir movies type deal that came out, and Orson Welles was a good example of it, because he was in one where he actually was running. He was a killer, and he was running and getting tired and showing, you know, the frailties. It wasn't like the villains were superhuman. Same thing with this. Sid was actually he was not the nicest of characters, but everybody else around him was worse, which made him the hero.
Yeah.
And that's a lot of that's in a film noir setup.
It made him the protagonist. I don't know if
right.
It made
all
him
right,
the hero.
You're right, the protagonist.
Yeah.
I'm only going.
He's clearly the protagonist, but I mean, he gets kidnapped again. Go ahead.
I was going for great tragedy, referring to him as the hero, just being the lead, so to speak.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. But I mean, he gets kidnapped again, and that guy, what was his name? Levine kidnaps him again to videotape his death
Oh my God.
as he slowly dies of this disease, because he says there's been an uncomfortable narrative gap now that Hannah Geist has died.
Mm-hmm.
And I just thought that's just so consistent with the rest of the movie. You know, well, she was sick and then she died, so the fans have this hole now that they need filled. So let's watch this guy die, who was one of the last people with her when she died of the same disease that she has.
Mm-hmm.
And
I
you're
know what
just like,
she went through.
yeah, and this is so fucking twisted.
Yeah. And again, it's the use of the white because he's vomiting blood, so it stands out even more.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh God, yeah.
And it's all planned out, all done on purpose. It's like hospitals are clean. They look clean, they look nice, but it's all this disgusting stuff. And lack of a better term, not to be disrespectful, of things that are happening. You know what I mean? Whether it's surgery, whether it's patients dying, vomiting, everything like that in this nice, clean looking environment. And like you have this still right up here, he's dressed in all white. But look, the floor is covered up in bloody vomit, and then his hand as well.
Yep.
And then you see the bandage on his arm that sticks out because it's big and it's white, but you have these little bits of the rash and stuff like that around it, so you can still see it being offset by the color of the white.
And there's also, I mean, white can be a sign of purity. In some cultures, it can be a symbol of death. In the East, this, that, and the other. But there's also vitality associated with a little bit of color in your skin. You get, so there's none of that here. Everybody is very pale.
Right.
The skies are always sort of overcast and metallic. It seems like. All of the decor is just this, sterile sort of psychiatric hospital white. And it's just, it's almost a character, like the setting is almost a character in the film. And so he eventually escapes from this kidnapping and manages to cut himself a deal by going even lower. Like the way out isn't through, the way out is under.
Right.
And cuts a deal with his competition to give them access to Hannah Geist's body now that she's died, so that people can view this sort of decomposition. And that is what gets him the cure to the disease. And you think that possibly there could be a way that he's going to find his way out of this. But just like Possessor, that didn't happen in Possessor.
No.
The way out was to go under. And so the way out for Voss to get out was to have her family killed.
Right.
That was the way out. Here, it's very much the same. It's like that. It's like Ari Aster, man. There are no happy endings here. Like Hereditary or Midsommar or Beau is Afraid. And he cuts the deal, and it's foul and it's disgusting. But then it goes even lower, in that he still can't keep away from
her
fluids.
He can't keep away from her.
Right.
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
He could just stay next to the, the anti, to the.
The thing is, he thinks that's her, though.
Right.
Because it clearly isn't. It's a meat puppet. A brainless.
Oh, yeah.
Meat
But that's
puppet.
not. But that's not what he cares about. I mean,
No.
I can. I'm taking care of you now. you're mine.
Yeah,
And
that's the right
again,
way to say it. You're mine.
and the thing is, he's now become like the doctor and the other guy who we referred to as vampires, and he's doing practically drinking her own blood. Not even taking it with a syringe and injecting himself. He's ingesting it.
Yeah, he's physically touching it.
And that's her arm through the thing.
There's just absolutely no redemption.
No.
There's no redemption. There's
and no release for her.
No.
You're right.
No. None. What she
Absolutely.
remains an object of sick people's obsession.
And worship.
Yeah.
Yeah, and worship. Against her will.
Right.
Or maybe not even against her, because like I said, I didn't really consider her to be an admirable character if she's selling her diseases to the first company.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So she places herself in this position, although in this particular setting, there doesn't seem to be anybody that does it.
Right.
There's no contrast, with like somebody who's saying, hey, what the fuck is this? Like,
she needs the money. If she is this all big, famous celebrity woman, why is she so desperate for money? She has to.
I don't think it's just
bits
her.
of herself.
I don't think it's just her. I think it's her handlers. I think it's that whole concept of is there enough? When do you say enough? And it's other people who are saying it's not.
Like any celebrity, there never seems to be enough. Like we were saying the other day, why the fuck is Arnold Schwarzenegger making life insurance commercials?
Mm-hmm. I mean,
why is Ice-T selling, fucking auto insurance? When is it enough?
When is enough?
And I remember
watching. What they're after is not the money, but the attention.
The relevance. And that's just what I was going to say.
Mike, like the wrestler that just can't stay retired. You know what I mean? They don't want to be forgotten.
I was just watching this. I forget what the YouTube channel was, but it was David Duchovny. And he was going through like a 15-minute video of his entire, brief, talking about his entire career. And I think at that point he was 62 when he made the video. This was last year sometime, actually. And he said that, all actors, have this thing that no matter where you are in the hierarchy of things, the minute the next project, the last project ends, this immediate anxiety grabs a hold of you. And you start to think, is this it? Is this it? And he goes, I can't pretend I don't suffer from it too, because I do. Mm-hmm. So it's this never-ending need to remain relevant. That's why Madonna is 65 years old and still acting like a horse's ass, dancing on these sorts of things. And you're like, what are you doing? Yeah. What are you doing? Stop it. You're a senior citizen.
Tina Turner did it, and she managed to stay fresh and relevant to the end of her life. Whereas
Tina Turner's one in a million.
Stale repetitions. Yeah.
There's never, you'd have to wait another lifetime to get another Tina Turner.
Mm-hmm.
Especially when you consider the whole story of where she came from, and I mean,
But if you also, I'm sorry, Mike, go ahead.
No, go ahead, John.
No, I mean, but even with this, even though I can't remember the female's character's name right now.
Hannah Geist.
Even though she has done it, it's other people around her going, we have to make the money.
Yeah, whispering in her ear,
Yeah.
I mean, as much as I like, and it's celebrities too, but think of how many people now who are making money, in certain businesses and everything else, because people say, when is enough enough?
Yeah.
And it's not until you're dead. And in this case, even after,
that's an interesting thing. There's a scene where Sid initially goes to meet her in the hotel.
Right.
And it's just filled with handlers.
Mm-hmm.
And the hotel, the room itself is filled with dead flowers.
Mm-hmm.
It's just dead flowers, and it's just like she's in there, and she's covered up with the, with the eye, the sleep thing that I forget what you call them, and
sleep mask.
sleep masks, and like nobody's caring for anything except for this little bubble around her.
Right.
Like no one's changed the room. It's just. And so, we hear about this so often, whether it be politics or in Hollywood, how these people, are just basically managed by their handlers. And so the question remains, how well are you being managed?
Right.
Or are you just being handled?
Right.
These sorts of things, those are relevant questions.
Can I jump? Because you had mentioned the first time he had seen Geist. The scene prior to that, when he was in the hotel lobby and he meets a competitor,
the competition,
and he turned around and said, "What? You're not supposed to be there." He goes, "I'm not here for that." And Sid kind of was like, "What?"
Yeah, that
genuine sense of shock, that little moment. No, I'm here for this guy. I'm not. And the other guy's like, "I don't give a shit what you're doing." It kind of made me laugh because the look that was on Sid's face is going, "Well, why aren't you trying to?" He
may have been the only reasonably healthy person in the entire cast.
I know, and I loved that moment because it was like somebody's getting the idea, saying, "I really don't give a shit."
Yeah, what she does. Who gives a fuck?
Kind of like that, really.
I don't care.
I don't care.
All right. Is there anything? We're at about an hour and 15. Is there any particular point of this film that you would like to address that we have not gotten into? Julia? Fangirl?
Well, I'd just like to mention, but as you know, I sort of Google a lot. I came across this little story. Filmmaker David Cronenberg is selling his kidney stones as an NFT. This is from March 24th.
That's body horror, all right.
Newsweek. As it is, it turns out he's selling a photograph of his kidney stones, not his actual kidney stones.
Who the fuck wants a photo of his kidneys?
It's a bit of a disappointment.
How much is it going for?
Actual kidney stones.
How much is it going for, Julia? How much?
Auction.
How much?
Oh, for the NFT, let's just check. I don't think it's mentioning the price. Oh, hold on. The artwork sold for 25 ether, or approximately $90,000.
For a picture of it?
For a drawing.
Well,
it's
a photograph of his kidney stones, which, yes, that looks quite painful. If they're to scale, good. I hope they weren't to scale.
I've had them before. The average is 2 to 3 millimeters. I had one that was 10.
Right. So it must be a greatly magnified one. I am about to.
Like I said, I had one that was.
There you go.
Was 10, so they can get that big or bigger.
Hey, Michael.
Right.
If you get a chance, if I pose like giving the middle finger, could you take a screenshot so I could sell it for 25 cents a copy and see if we can make money for the site? Because I bet you 10 to 1, somebody will be more than willing to pay me going,
I'll tell you what,
blanked out with my blur.
We're talking about celebrity obsession. I guarantee you, if that was his real kidney stone, it would still be purchased by somebody.
Oh, God, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I gotta tell you, you guys. All right. Well, then at some point we're gonna have to get into his last movie, Crimes of the Future,
right?
Okay.
Because that's sort of it's about body modification.
Yeah.
The extremes of body modification.
Is that the one with Vigo? You said was a gangster.
Yeah, with Vigo and Kristen Stewart.
History of violence. Yeah.
No. Crimes of the Future.
Oh,
is
Kristen Stewart in that yet?
Kristen Stewart's in that? Okay.
Kristen Stewart's in that, and Léa Seydoux, who was the love interest for James Bond, the one he ended up married at the end of the Daniel Craig series. Had a baby for the French chick. Yeah, she's in it too, and it's pretty foul. It's pretty foul. He got back to body horror again. He got back to body horror.
Oh, good. About time. About time.
I love it. Oh, good. About time. I love it.
Yay!
All right. Is there anything that we missed?
One thing. For me, because I did laugh at a couple things. I was very surprised how much humor is in this movie. Not a lot, but there was some in there. I'm going. That was. I mean, when Sid comes walking by and trying to get in to see the butcher. and the guy who grabs him was the character in the beginning that he sold the herpes to, and he already had herpes going on his, and he didn't recognize him. I laughed my ass off at that. I have no idea why. Hey man, wait in line, and you don't even recognize the guy who. That was really there was a couple of those moments that really made me laugh. I don't know why. It must be my sick sense of humor, but I really got that.
It's a pretty sick movie, but yeah, I mean, absolutely. You could see, you're not cutting in this line. You're not cutting in this line. You're gonna get your Hannah steak when everybody else does. All right, let's get to the part in the stream where we rate the film. This channel has a rating system that goes from 0 to 5 by halves. So 0, 0.5, 1, 1.5, all the way to 5. So 0, for example, would be I'd rather have a huge booger hanging out of my nose every day for the rest of my life than watch this movie again, all the way to 5, which is this is cinema, this is the destination, this is why I talk about movies in the first place. Fangirl, what would you give Brandon Cronenberg's Antiviral?
4.
4.
4 because it is thought-provoking, it is interesting, it is visually very striking, but I'm not giving it 5 because it doesn't engage me emotionally at all. I don't really give a flying thingamy about any of the characters in it whatsoever.
Okay, all right, fair enough. John K. Alvarez going for 29 cents a pound. What do you got for us?
I'm going with Julia. I'm giving it a 4.
Okay.
But kind of for the exact opposite reason. Because I like the fact that, I don't know why, I'm a big fan when there's no likable characters in it, yet I'm still engaged and want to watch.
Okay.
And this movie was well done. I'm glad I did not see this movie back in 2012. I don't think I'd be having that response. Seeing the way the world is now, I think Cronenberg was just a little, like you said earlier, a little ahead of his time. Was it a perfect movie? No. But, man, there was some stuff in there, even though I didn't like the characters, the themes are making me think.
Okay. All right. Eric, what do you got? Okay,
this is going to be tough. But I'm going to be...
Let me ask you this real quick, Eric. Like Possessor, did the conversation help?
Maybe a little, but I don't think I'm going to change my score.
Okay.
I think I'm going to give it a 3. As of this recording, first time watch, just finished 15 minutes before we went live. We'll give it a 3. It looks very pretty, even when it's got some disgusting moments. You know what I mean? Like him vomiting on the floor. Again, though, like we've said before, you got to be in the right mood for Brandon's movies. We said that with Possessor. We said it with this. As of this recording, I was not in the right mood. Okay. I was not engaged a lot by a lot of the characters. I think it's because, like to agree with Julia, you don't really care about them, or at least I didn't personally. I didn't really give a shit about any of them. I did want to see where it was going to go because it was so fucked up. But then there were times when I was just kind of sitting there waiting for something to happen. Right. And honestly, I think what's keeping it down for a 3 for me right now is because just last week we watched Possessor, and I thought that one was so fucking good. They might have been too close together. I might have expected something like Possessor, if that makes sense. So
the expectation wasn't
6 months since 6 months down the road. If I revisit this, might be a hell of a different score. But as of right now, I'm going to give it a solid 3. Solid 3, but I'm going to give it a 3.
Okay. All right. So I am going with a 4. I'm going with a 4. This is only the second time I've watched this. I saw it the first time and immediately went out and bought a copy.
Okay.
No, actually, I may have actually saw Possessor and then just bought this. Like I saw Possessor and then I bought that DVD, which I ended up mailing to Eric, and then I got a Blu-ray. But then I also bought a copy of Antiviral because, oh my God, he's had 2 other movies. And wait, he just had another movie. He did this other movie. Oh my God, he's got another one coming out, Infinity Pool. Okay, I got to start, keeping up with this guy. The second time I watched it, and it held up. And there's a couple of scenes that dragged. there were a couple of scenes that dragged a little bit. The second time when he's in Malcolm McDowell's house and he's walking real slowly to go into Hannah's room. That kind of, and I actually fast forwarded a couple, like a minute ahead, this, that, or the other as she's dying. And then, the kidnapping dragged out a little bit for me. The second kidnapping dragged out a little bit for me. But visually, it's striking. It's a very striking movie. It engages my disgust factor, but in a good way, not like in a Terrifier way. Torture porny kind of way, as in, wow, this guy's really fucking going for it kind of way, in a way that is still really good filmmaking, really good story, a really good story, and an original story, like I said, that I think was just a bit ahead of its time. On the other hand, I don't like movies where there's no one to root for. And so it becomes like, Sid is kind of an anti-hero, and so he's only at the top because everyone else is worse. And that's just the type of movies that, like Voss in Possessor. She's not a hero, right? She's just kind of the anti-hero, I guess. Maybe she's even she's a villain, really, when you think about it. And I would have appreciated this a bit more, although that's not Brandon Cronenberg's style, if it had been a film where someone was actually an admirable character. And there just was no one like that in there. But this is the second time I've seen it. And aside from those two scenes that dragged out a little far, it still held up very well. Is it Rosemary's Baby? No. Is it even You Won't Be Alone, which we talked about when we did the witchcraft films with Noomi Rapace, the Macedonian horror film? No, it's not. But it's still, for a first effort, wow.
I'll say this, because I really enjoyed Possessor a lot, especially the second time watching it and the conversation. And just because I gave this movie a 3 doesn't mean I'm not interested in Infinity Pool. You know what I mean?
You should be.
Yeah.
You should. And like, this is where you can see they gave him some. You can see they gave him some money this time. Oh, okay. Let's go. Skarsgård, Mia Goth, a couple of other people. They got some names, is what I'm saying. It takes a little money to bring, to bring a name celebrity in here this time.
I remember saying this last week, and I think since we're on the cast, I think when it comes to Brandon Cronenberg, you should see it more than once.
Yeah.
His movies, especially because get the first time in and everything else, and go back to it. Because I did. I went back with Possessor, and I found myself enjoying it more.
You know what you're getting into.
Seriously thinking about changing my score.
And let me say that Infinity Pool is a completely different story. So this is 3 different movies. You will have to judge for yourself which one you feel is the best, but all 3 are completely different. I like that Ari Aster did that. Originally I hated Midsommar. And there are parts of me that still hate it because of the way it ended.
That smile that just makes Bill so mad.
Yeah. But what I really, didn't like about it initially was that my expectation was for another supernatural hereditary film. And it wasn't. It was a folk horror, just shit show. And then you did Beau is Afraid, which in many ways was just like, holy shit. Like, he's just, really gone for it here. But, it didn't, I don't think it did very well critically.
I believe the word is called eccentric.
Yeah. Same with Eggers. Yeah. Eggers did, The Witch. And then he did The Lighthouse. And I'm like, what the fuck am I watching here? And
now he's doing Nosferatu.
Yeah, now he's doing Nosferatu. And then he did The Northman. Which had nothing to do with, no movie is the same.
Right.
And now coming later this year with Nosferatu, another Nosferatu. I never thought we'd see another Nosferatu. Never did. Especially after Kinski's interpretation. Never thought we'd see another Nosferatu.
I'm excited about that cast with Defoe and Skarsgård.
Yeah. Who's
I'll be watching that too, I hope. I
Who's
don't hold
the?
out much hope for it being any good, simply because the one about the Demeter, the ship Demeter,
I love that movie.
that was a big disappointment.
Oh, I
And
love it.
I
I love
remember
it.
I'm not
that. Yeah.
really expecting. I'm not really expecting the
And
new
this is when I
Nosferatu
step
to be
out
any
because they're going to
better.
argue over the Demeter.
No, 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 no.
I haven't
It's
seen it
just
yet.
that. It's just that Nosferatu is not Demeter.
Oh no,
Nosferatu
and I like Nosferatu.
Nosferatu is its own category of vampire film. It
Mm-hmm.
really is. I mean, I've actually, I own, the Shrek version, and the Kinski version is just that's just horror royalty to me. But yeah, I think it's going to be good. He's not going to make an action film out of Nosferatu. I don't see that. And everything he does is so meticulously researched. I've got what I hope is a reasonably high expectation for that. All right, fangirl, plug something. This means you.
Oh, right. Sorry, I completely forgot that I'd changed the title. Plug something. Mano de Hierro. It is a Spanish TV show, TV show on Netflix, if you can call it TV. Lots of violence, lots of gangsters, lots of drugs. A very beautiful port of Barcelona. And I think you can guess, Cosimo Fusco is in it, playing a character called La Francesca. La Frances, something like that. And I'd say definitely give it a go. And secondly, there's my own podcast, which is called Morbid and Unhealthy, for obvious reasons. And
Good for you.
I'm trying to have that go out every Wednesday at 8 p.m. That is we're going over to British summertime soon, so that'll be fun.
When do you
Trying to
switch?
work out what time things actually are. Sorry?
When do you switch? What day? Do you know?
I think it's the last Sunday of this month.
Oh, on
So
Easter.
that will be
Easter Sunday?
yes.
Easter
Oh,
Sunday is March 31st.
Looking forward to the chocolate egg day. So I don't know who
Well, why
I'm going
not?
to
You're
have
going an
next
hour
Wednesday,
earlier.
but
You're going to eat the chocolate and get the sugar going.
you two are going to get struck by lightning.
Yes, we are.
I'm sure it'll be somebody interesting. We won't know. I won't know who myself until closer, but
I just
you
go, hey,
never
who's
know.
on?
You never know. Might even be a certain Italian actor. You never know. But yeah, so
Fabio?
there's that.
Playing McMurphy. That's what I'll be impressed is when he plays an Irish character named McMurphy. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding, Julia.
All right, so all right, that sounds real good. John, anything?
Nope. That's the only plug I got.
All right. So go catch Nope. It wasn't my favorite movie, but
Yeah, Jordan Peele's Nope.
Yeah, it's all right. It's fine. Eric, plug something.
YouTube channel. Hey, Internet, Eric here. I'm not hanging with you two or you three, jokesters. I'm usually uploading either something really fucking stupid or something Mike usually recommends me to watch and discuss.
What's next? What have you just put out, and what's coming?
I just put out a video giving my opinion on the Bill Skarsgård Crow movie that is coming out.
Oh,
because
I did
like when remakes come out of a loved film, and don't get me wrong, The Crow is my favorite movie of all time. The internet has to explode and go batshit, and think it's going to be the worst film ever. I discussed the negativity, and it's not just if you hate a remake, God bless you, go ahead and hate it. But if you're going to be really fucking stupid with your reasons, that's what my video is about. Discussing, the movie's going to suck just because the trailer had a song you didn't like. That has nothing to fucking do with the finished product. Right. You know what I mean? I discuss the director of the original film talking about how they shouldn't, he literally said, take a dump on Brandon Lee's legacy. Well, I also said maybe Brandon Lee wouldn't have a legacy and still be making films if he didn't die on your movie set. And then I go on from there. It's true.
I know.
working conditions were a little safer, he might not have a legacy right now, still be making movies.
I was always of the. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No. And then going forward, it's still movies I have never seen. This whole year on my YouTube channel is going to be movies I've never seen, whether it's classics like The Godfather, I've seen bits and pieces, never seen it from beginning to end, or recommendations from Mike. Coming up, I'm going to do that movie on Tubi, Nefarious, with Sean Patrick Flannery that you said is really, really good.
Yeah,
I want to get into some Edgar. I want to discuss The Witch because I've never seen that. And some other things I got planned. I don't want to throw out too many things because then I might say it and then change my fucking mind.
Okay.
Hey, Eric?
Sure.
Before I actually came on tonight, I'm not just saying this because you're here, I got to see your thing on The Crow. Because I was actually doing some research on YouTube about the movie so I can kind of put my thoughts together. I saw that. That's a great thing that you did.
Well, thank you.
I sat there and I agreed with you, I believe, about a good 99.9% of the time. I disagreed 0.1% just because I want to be a dick. But
that's okay.
That, I really liked what you had said because I agreed.
Well, I appreciate that. And like I've said before, remakes do not tarnish the original. You will always love that original movie.
Right.
And I also said, you know what? This might be, a John Wick type of action flick, but you know what? It could still be entertaining. And do you really want to end the Crow series on Edward fucking Furlong as the Crow? No. So.
All right. For me, I've been a little slow actually with uploads and live streams, and I've just been at a fucking crazy pace with a lot of things, and I've got to get back into that. So I'll have some content coming up on regular American Werewolf. I've got 3-day weekend, so I'm good after my dentist appointment, so on and so forth. For next week, I actually, in terms of American Werewolf, I've got some upcoming video with some Ronda Rousey commentary. Ronda Rousey has been fucking laying them to waste, and I want to get into that with what she's been saying about WWE. We've got a UFC card this weekend, so I'm going to be covering some more of that. So that's going to be just fine. And then next week, for live streaming in terms of horror, well, actually tomorrow, I'm going to go see Late Night with the Devil.
Look at you!
Yeah, it's playing in Vineland. I'm going to drive all the way to Vineland on a Friday night and go see Late Night with the Devil. And then on Saturday in the afternoon, I'm going to see Immaculate, which is the nun movie with Sydney Sweeney.
Right.
Sydney Sweeney, the new It girl, has made a horror nunsploitation movie that is supposed to actually be pretty fucking good. The guy I talked to, my friend James Hancock, he went to see it and he said I would definitely enjoy it. And my response was, why the fuck did no one tell me that Sydney Sweeney made a nunsploitation movie? Because absolutely I'm going to be there. So that's going to be
like
my
those evil nun movies, don't you?
Oh yeah, I love the
As
nun.
long as it's played by Sydney Sweeney.
Sydney Sweeney. I got nothing wrong with Tassia Formiga either. I mean, I thought the Nun 2 was a great sequel. It was just fun. It was dark. They went right at it instead of it was one of those sequels that just from the get go. It just I thought it was great and fun and definitely worthy of being part of the Conjuring universe. Way better than those stupid Annabelle movies.
Okay.
But I'm going to do that. And then if you guys are available next week, I would love to get you on another Tubi movie.
Okay.
That I'm very happy about. And I may actually
I can't get Tubi.
Okay, well, let's see if you can access it anyway.
Tubi or not Tubi?
Personal Shopper.
Personal Shopper.
I've been wanting to check that out for a long time.
I've seen this movie.
This is Criterion Collection.
Prime.
Check it out. Personal Shopper with Kristen Stewart. It is a paranormal film that I just fucking love. And she plays a medium who is, as an American in Paris, 6 months after the death of her brother. Her brother was also supposedly a medium, and she is remaining in Paris 6 months after his death because they made a promise to each other when one died before the other that one would send the other a message. And so she's waiting in Paris for a message from her dead brother. And it is just this beautiful, and it's filmed in Paris. So Paris is just one of the most beautiful cities.
It's available on Amazon Prime UK. So,
okay.
Yep, count me in.
Okay.
All right.
So I'll see if I can get the Bengal guy here. He said he wasn't able to. He agreed to do Antiviral, but he said he wasn't able to get time to watch it this week, so he apologized. But let's see if we can. I would like to have a good panel for this. It was one of those things I think I've discussed already with Walk the Cinema back in the day, but they haven't been on in like 9 months. I have to send them a message. I think they moved. Their situation changed or something like that, and
because you were on their podcast and then they were on yours for the
same we've been back and forth several times, and then all of a sudden, somewhere in the middle of last year, they just dropped off. They say the average podcast or channel lasts about 6 months.
They opened the front door and said, "Wait, that's their son."
Well, you know what happened is, you know what happened. Yeah, well, there's that too. But what happened was they started going off on these weird tangents. I think she took over like the choices, and so next thing you know, they were watching like La Dolce Vita, and I'm like, all right, well, that's a fucking switch. I mean, I like Fellini too, but I'm like, shit, okay, and then they didn't last long after that. So I don't.
Yeah, I remember they were on our Gerald's Game episode, and I haven't seen or heard from them much since then.
Yeah, I think that was the last time. Yeah, for some Mike Flanagan, they were pretty cool.
I liked them. Good people.
All right, so I will see you guys here next Thursday. Personal shopper, and this may actually be, I think I know what I'm going to do now. All right. So, sorry, I'm thinking, thinking out loud. My thanks to the queen of live stream, Morgan Scorpion herself. Thank you. My thanks to John K. Alvarez. Hopefully he'll be up to 35 cents a pound next week. And my thanks to Eric from Hey Internet Eric here. We will see you all in the next video. All right, everybody. Take care. God bless you.
Cheers.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much.